Welcome back everybody to another zombies pickup video. Now in my last video I did promise that we were going to have even more epic finds to show you guys. That is exactly what is in this box, and believe me, I am still coming down from the shock of what we picked up, mostly because these games are going up in price and are definitely harder to find complete in box the way that I like them. So let's delve deep into what's in this box, starting with Lord of the Rings for the Super Nintendo. Now this was an online purchase, mainly because I had to Frankenstein a lot of the original pieces to my copy of the game. I was a big fan of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings as a kid. I've kind of come down on that a little bit since the release of the new Hobbit movies, which I'm not a fan of, and I admit that. But the game itself was pretty unique in that it not only followed the events of the book pretty well, it also used the 4-player multi-tap that was available on the system, and you could actually use the Mario Paint mouse with this. So you could have every person playing a different Hobbit, you could have them playing Aragorn, Legolas, all the different characters that you'll recognize. Unfortunately, because of where I grew up, nobody knew what the hell Lord of the Rings was, let alone would be interested in playing this game with me. So it kind of did take a backseat on my gamer shelf, but once in a while I did play it. And it's nice to actually have this back again, complete in box, because over the years, a lot of the original pieces miraculously disappeared somehow. But nonetheless, a really good game. Not the best that the Super Nintendo has to offer, and definitely not the best in the series, but not a bad game, so definitely check this one out. The boring stuff. Baseball and Tennis. Two black box games that I did not have in my collection. I have these loose, but we haven't had them complete since we first got them. And the cool thing about the copy of Tennis that I'm holding is, for those extreme collectors out there, this actually has the hang tab unpunched on the back here. Hang tabs have become their own kind of market within the retro collecting scene. So some collectors will pay top dollar for an unpunched hang tab. There's really no difference outside of that. A lot of it just has to do with what games first were released in the collection. And hang tab games are said to be some of the earliest NES carts. Tennis, I will admit, is not that bad on the NES. I have this also for my e-reader. But because I'm not the biggest sports fan, most of the time these games will just sit there on the shelf for collection. And kind of what also irks me too about this is the fact that if you see here, it's got an original Bookman's tag on the front and sometimes on the back. Bookman's is a chain in Arizona that sells used media. So knowing that this game sold for $5 complete in box back in 2003, compared to what I paid for this and baseball nowadays, kind of irks me to know that the prices have gone up that high. But nonetheless, I like having these in my collection. I want to get the rest of the black box games in box, but until then, these will do for now. And like I said, Tennis is actually pretty fun. Next up, we have Alien 3 for the Super Nintendo and NES. Now, the reason why this one is wrapped up in this fancy plastic is that all of these games, with the exception of Lord of the Rings, all came from Our Galaxy. Our Galaxy was having a sale at the time, and as I said in a previous video, I did not know they were actually carrying retro games, and these had just come off of a collection that somebody had sold them. So I ended up buying a majority of these pieces within a couple weeks of each other for various sales, and I just had to take home the Alien 3 games for sure. The Super Nintendo one, although looks impressive and follows the premise of the movie, I mean all the Alien 3 games do, but very loosely. is not the best one like you would think in comparison. It's got good graphics, it's got an okay soundtrack, but it is just very long and very boring. Whereas the Genesis game actually has interesting side quests to it. I think is a bit more of a graphic pop than the Super Nintendo one is, because the Super Nintendo version kind of looks dismal and droll, whereas the Genesis version is actually pretty bright and energetic looking. The same can be said for the NES port. I actually think the NES port is the best one of the two, or of the three, because they do have a Game Boy version, of the ports. And this one kind of follows what the Genesis version did. But the Genesis version overall I think is the best Alien 3 adaptation. Next up we have another sports game. I forgot what's in this box. I just remembered until I opened it, so I apologize. I should have done all the sports games first. This is Wayne Gretzky Hockey. This came at a time when Wayne Gretzky was on fire in the NHL and was the most recognized player in all of hockey. I believe this also came out during the time when they did that cartoon Pro Stars, along with Michael Jordan and Bo Jackson, one of my personal favorite athletes. This is quite an impressive looking game, although I still think Blades of Steel is the best hockey game on the system. You do get to play as Wayne Gretzky, you get to play as recognizable players from all the various hockey teams at the time. Again, I'm not the biggest sports fanatic, so I can't really go much more in depth than that. But it is nice to have this in the collection, and I was a fan of Wayne Gretzky when I was a kid. Next up, we have The Simpsons Bartman meets Radioactive Man. I am not a big fan of the Simpsons games on NES. I'm more of a fan of the show, and in later systems, various games kind of won me over, but the trilogy on NES is not the best, sadly. Although I did want to own all these games because when I was younger, I did have all of them, and sadly, they were sold to, once again, help out a friend of mine. It's nice to have this one back in the box because when I checked the current price for this game, complete in box, it has definitely jumped from when I first bought it. Chromo, if you're watching, I know you do like this one a lot, or is it Bart versus the World? I think it might have been Bart versus the World, actually, but I do get some enjoyment out of this. It's cool to see the world of Radioactive Man come alive in this game, since Bart loves that comic book so much. And I really wish they had just improved the controls, because that really is what kills the series for me. But nonetheless, I have all three. I just need to get Bart vs. the World in box, and the whole lineup will be complete. So if you guys find that out there, let me know. Next up is B-52. This is a game from Camerica, the guys who did the Aladdin Deck Enhancer and many other games from that module were brought over to the NES by the same company. Although I'm not a big fan of Camerica games because a lot of them are just really watered down copies of a lot of well-known games in general. The reason why I wanted this one is because not only do I not have Camerica games in box, this one actually hasn't been used. The cartridge itself, I'm going to try to open this without too much trouble here. This is the selling point for me, and gosh darn, I wish I could open this better, but here we go. Oh, that was nasty. Check this out. So we have the original inserts, poster, manual, cardboard. The game's never been played. The seal's never been broken on the plastic. So when I saw that, I was blown away. And this, I think, technically counts as factory sealed, but I'm probably wrong about that because it should have the original plastic on there. I've never seen a game like that. And for the price that they wanted on this, on top of it being on sale, I just had to pick this up. I have played it before on emulation, and I believe it was on the Aladdin Deck Enhancer as well. but I won't be playing this card anytime soon just because I would hate to break that seal on it. I'll pick up a loose copy eventually, but that's what really shocked me about this, and I just couldn't believe the deal I got on it. Now we have the best pickups in this whole box. These are the games that I could not believe I got not only complete in box, but at a really, really good price. We'll start with the last Capcom game that will be easily to find for me. I don't know if I'll ever own Chip 'n Dale 2, let alone DuckTales 2, let alone complete in box. So this is probably going to be the last one that I get for a while, and that's Darkwing Duck. I have seen various people in the YouTube community play this, stream this. We all agree it's a really good game. It can be difficult, just like the TG16 version. But nonetheless, it comes highly recommended by a lot of us, especially if you're a fan of the show. You play as the title character, and you have various missions where you have to stop a lot of the well-known foes from the cartoon itself. This is a game that, again, has been climbing up in price. So trying to find it separately, loose, versus finding it in box in as good a shape as this one is, was nothing short of a miracle. And as you can see here, same issue with the tags. Kills me to know that this game sold for 15 bucks back in 2003 when I didn't pay as cheap a price as I did to get it. So, but you gotta admit that having that on there is actually kind of cool because it is a piece of history. It is nice to know that that's how cheap it was. I just wish those prices carried over nowadays, because look that one up. It's gone up for sure. Battletoads, a heavy favorite in our community. We all have seen various friends of ours play this, stream it, no death run it. If you're lucky enough, like me, to have seen the cartoon, you've played the various other versions of Battletoads on Game Boy, Battletoads Double Dragon. This is a must for any NES collector, and this condition blew my mind. I have opened it already a few times, and that's why the tape is all every which way. This thing is flawless. It even has the original box art poster, which is a very hard item to come by. I've seen that sell on eBay for about $40, if not more than that. So I've got the cart, the manual, the poster, everything. And I can't tell you how good it feels to have this complete in box again, because I haven't had it since I first got it. And it devastated me to know that my box and the manual and everything went missing. So this was a definite grail for me. And the last Holy Grail, sad to say, is not a great game, but for a fan like me, a much welcome addition to my NES collection, and that is Godzilla II. This is a strategic war simulator, and some of you have seen the AVGN episode where he discussed Godzilla games. You play as a human militia, and it's your goal to guide tanks, satellites, jets, all kinds of vehicles, and lead an assault on Godzilla and all the various kaiju that are on the map. I don't recall if this game was a palette swap of any kind, but because it's Godzilla, I had to have it in my collection. It's probably the most expensive Godzilla game out there, loose and complete in box. The only other one that comes to mind is probably Godzilla Unleashed or Godzilla Saves the World. It's one of those two, because there are 3 next-gen games that came out on PlayStation, Wii, and Xbox. But this is probably one of the most expensive NES carts in the series itself. And like I said, it's not the best game, but I'm just glad to have it because I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I have played it. I don't hate it. It's just not as fun as a Godzilla game should be. So I recommend you check it out, at least if you are a Godzilla fan. Maybe give it a shot on emulation if you want. But for someone like me, it's just really cool to have this piece because Godzilla was a huge part of my childhood. There you have it. Do you think this is more epic than the previous videos? I think so by a long shot. I mean, the Wii U system was awesome, but who can pass up getting very hard to find complete in box games at really good prices? And again, this came from a store that normally didn't carry retro games. So the fact that our Galaxy is doing that means I'm gonna have to start making multiple trips up there and put my anime collection on the back burner, because my gosh, it feels so nice to have these in the collection again. And you all know I'm a CIB collector, so this just amps up everything that it comes with collecting. So I want to thank you all again for watching. Comment down below which of these games would you like to have complete in box, or comment with any games you're looking for in general. Let's see if we can help each other out here, because I am still coming down from the rush of this, and I would love nothing more than to help you guys out. So be sure to comment, be sure to message me on Twitter. You guys all know that if I can, I'll send a Zombox your way. Let's help build each other's collections the right way. So again, Zombie JLT1, your supernatural gamer and gaming beautician and king of stream, signing off for now. I will see you in the next pickup video.